Why do the Pacific Island countries always show up for Israel at the UN? When the UN votes on Palestine, Israel's usually left standing alone with backup from the US and the South Pacific. As Israel's biggest financial and military backer, the US makes sense. But why is a region in the global south on nearly the complete opposite side of the globe co-signing genocide and apartheid? To understand the Pacific Island countries, you have to understand the region's religious identity, and that's mostly Christian, like 90% Christian. And that's because European missionaries in the 19th century focused on proselytizing tribal leaders. Once the chiefs were swayed, their tribes would go with them, and from there, the newly Christian islands would begin working on converting their neighbors. But Christianity in the Pacific often takes a very literal reading of the Bible. It's a key feature of evangelicalism. In fact, in a country like Fiji, which often sides with Israel at the UN, 1 in 4 people identifies as evangelical. Across the globe, many evangelicals are some of Israel's most passionate supporters. These Christian Zionists believe God's plan means Jews returning to the land now occupied by Israel, a belief also widely held in the Pacific. But for the idea of a Jewish homeland between the Jordan River and the Mediterranean to really take hold thousands of kilometers away in the Pacific, Israel's deployed a special type of identity-based diplomacy. Israel's missions to the Pacific often have a lot to do with myth-making. Visiting Israelis like to push the story that they're the people indigenous to that land, questing for a return home after generations of marginalization, exploitation, and ethnic cleansing. And it's these themes of an oppressed indigeneity that allow Israel to connect with a broader Pacific cause. But that's at odds with the very founding of Israel in 1948, when Zionist militias expelled over 750,000 Palestinians from their homes. Still, if you're a country with 11,000 people, like Nauru, then Israel's story is a really visible one to connect with. Israel has the 27th highest total GDP in the world. Nauru has the second lowest. In fact, 7 of the other countries in the bottom 10 are also in the South Pacific, and they're all voting allies at the UN. Though these countries rank much higher when GDP is adjusted per capita, they're also incredibly resource-strapped. And with so many of them vulnerable to the climate crisis, their needs are only growing. And that's why Israel's been there to donate desalination plants to Pacific countries in drought, or help resettle communities after natural disasters. Plus, in November, Israel's deputy foreign minister hinted she'd even be open to bringing Fijian peacekeeping forces into Gaza. So when you see Pacific Island nations voting with Israel at the UN, it's not just a way these tiny countries are standing out among the crowd. It's shaped by long-standing worldviews, and it's the payoff for decades of foreign policy. And it's the latest example of the global north using the global south for its own gain, especially as Israel finds itself more isolated on the world stage.